The Condominium Act provides buyers in Manitoba 7 days following the purchase of a condominium unit to review the mandatory condominium disclosure documents, seek expert advice, and determine whether they will proceed with the purchase. This is known as the cooling-off period. The cooling-off period begins on the day that the offer to purchase is accepted and becomes a contract, or on the day that all the required disclosure documents are received by the buyer, whichever is later. To reinforce the correct starting date of the cooling-off period, have your buyer client sign the Notice of Receipt of All Disclosure Documents form and keep a copy in your brokerage's transaction file. The cooling-off period ends at 11:59 p.m. on the 7th day, regardless of what time of day it started. This timeline is not adjusted for weekends or any holidays. The only exception to this rule is that the cooling-off period may be extended by 1 day if it would otherwise end on Remembrance Day. This is because real estate practitioners cannot conduct business on November 11th. If Remembrance Day falls within the 7-day period, no adjustments are made. Remember that the seller must provide all the disclosure documents listed on the table of contents to the buyer. Otherwise, the cooling-off period cannot begin and the transaction cannot proceed. If the seller does not already have copies of the required documents, they can request these documents from the Condominium Corporation. Additionally, some of the documents, such as the declaration or excerpt of the plan, could be obtained through the Terranet Manitoba Land Titles Office. Generally, the only reason a document listed on the table of contents does not need to be provided is if it does not exist. This should be noted on the table of contents form. The last column beside the name of each required document provides space to explain why that document cannot be given. Incorrectly counting the 7-day cooling-off period is a very common error. While it might feel a little silly, making a chart or counting on your fingers to get it right is better than having to sort out a mistake afterwards. Take your time and be sure you have counted correctly. In this example, the cooling-off period starts at sometime on a Monday and ends at 11:59 p.m. on the following Monday. Remember that weekends and holidays are included in the 7 days. Encourage your buyer clients to use the cooling-off period to carefully review all the documents they have been given and consult their lawyer or other relevant experts regarding any areas of concern. In particular, they will want to make sure they understand the financial position of the Condominium Corporation and their related obligations as a unit owner. It is also an opportunity to confirm exactly what is included in the purchase, such as exclusive use areas, parking, and storage spaces, as well as any restrictions or additional requirements imposed by the rules and bylaws. Remind your buyer clients that they have until 11:59 p.m. on the 7th day to cancel the purchase for any reason. Form 4 from the Condominium Act describes the buyer's right to cancel during the cooling-off period and the process for doing so. If your buyer client decides to cancel the agreement during the cooling-off period, your buyer client must provide written notice, either in person or by a method that provides proof of the date and time it was sent, such as registered mail, email, or fax. Send the notice using the contact information that the seller or their representative provided for cancellation purposes before 11:59 p.m. on the 7th day of the cooling-off period. The cooling-off period is a critical part of any condominium transaction, and you need to take care to ensure that you are properly complying with this requirement. For additional information on the Condominium Act and the statutory forms, visit the Government of Manitoba's Guide to the Condominium Act website, linked in the description below.